Nostalgia is heroin for old people. That's a quote by comedian Dara O'Brien, and when I've heard it for the first time, I've nodded so much my head almost fell off. Because I am those old people. And the nostalgia isn't about a long forgotten time, but about one that I remember very well, the 90s. My whole Insta feed is full of 90s related stuff, 90s music.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me.
90s fashion.
What time period did they wear these in?
I'm sorry, did you say what time period?
Now even that 70s show makes a comeback as that 90s show, and I'm not really sure how to feel about that.
Hello, Wisconsin!
When you stand behind your kids, it's easier
To put your foot in their
in their
ass.
ass.
Yeah, we got it, Dan. Thanks.
Hello, Wisconsin!
The 90s was a time full of grunge and Eurodance, Tamagotchis and the screeching sounds of modems, Stop AIDS campaigns and Rachel haircuts. But was it really that magical or even better than today? Of course not. Instead of the war in Ukraine, there was war in Yugoslavia. Instead of the youth climate movement, there was the fuck Chirac screaming anti-nuclear movement. And instead of Meghan and Harry, Diana caused the royal scandals. In our heads, the 90s was just the good old times that we now try to desperately get back, like our youth. Maybe that's just me. Anyway, it's no wonder that everything gets remade or rebooted, just like that 70s show. The original started in 1998 and was set 20 years in the past, in the 70s, a time when my parents were young. So it was ages ago, like ancient. Now that 90s show plays in the 90s, obviously. But to me, that was yesterday. But actually, it was 30 years ago. There has even more time passed between now and the 90s than between the 90s and the 70s. And that makes me feel a little too close in the retirement home. Also, what is up with those teenagers in this new show? They look so young, like children. I mean, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis looked so much older because they were a little older than me. And with the exception from Mila Kunis, all those teenagers were played by adults, which was and still is quite common. In Clueless, Stacey Dash, who played teenager Dion, was 28, just like Meredith Monroe, who played Andy in Dawson's Creek. And Corey Monteith was 27 when he played Finn on Glee. So of course, my view on how teenagers look is a bit off. It's actually nice to see teenagers being played by actual teens, but it still makes me feel so effing old. Surprisingly, there isn't much hate going on in the discussions about the new show, which is often the case because the world is full of mean people. Yay! But the trailers weren't bad. And as 90s children, we not only can identify with those teenagers, but maybe even more so with the parents. Red and Kitty, the annoyed dad and the slightly stressed out mom. Now they are the grandparents, but they still don't get teenagers. And now I can say same. It's kind of fascinating how this view changes. In Riverdale, I also thought the dads were a bit more interesting than the young cast. They were played by 90s stars Luke Perry from Beverly Hills 90210 and Skeet Ulrich from Scream. And by the way, Scream 6 will be out this year because 90s nostalgia. And personally, I think this one will also not come close to the original like all sequels because inside I'm a grumpy old lady who thinks new things are bad. Seriously, some 90s stuff should remain buried. I didn't think it was necessary for David Guetta to dig out the most annoying 90s song ever. I already hated that song in 1998 and now I hate the new version because whenever I hear it, I can still hear the old lyrics in my head that burned themselves into my brain. But that's the point. I'll probably have a look at that 90s show and I'll be happy when the old cast makes an appearance because, just like so many other people, I'm not immune when it comes to nostalgia. How about you? Do you feel the same when it comes to all this 90s stuff, or do you think I'm a drama queen? Whatever it is, maybe write it in the comments and maybe give me a like and maybe even subscribe. But anyway, thank you very much for watching.